You have freed me, and for this I grant you the right to continue existing. For now. Do not seek to bind me again, or you will feel my true power.
Excuse me, what? Hello, role-playing people, and today we're continuing our Kupala Lore-hunt with the fourth book of the Transylvania Chronicles, the Dragon Ascendant. I really cannot even begin to comprehend what the writers were thinking when they came up with the ending to what has otherwise been a very interesting, dark and mysterious chronicle of ages. The ending is beyond disappointing for a multitude of reasons which I couldn't keep from sharing even if I tried. This lore hunt has brought me to a place of frustrated disappointment, but hey, I will keep going. I will collect the lore as it is written, since that was the point of this journey, and I will present my conclusions in another episode. For now, I will sum up the events and stories contained within, as I have been doing so far. The first story sees our protagonists, whoever they might be, trying to keep the elusive Incunabulum Kupalam, a voluminous manuscript assembled in 1498 by Kupala cultists, from falling into the wrong hands. And I quote, "Although most of it is in academic Latin, portions are encrypted in metaphors, ciphers, diagrams, quatrains, Enochian revelations, and of course, prophecy." A team of scholars could spend a century unraveling the layers of meaning within its text, and each would arrive at a different version of the truth behind the myth of Kupala. The events take place in Vienna, 1897, a time in which quite a few vampires know of the existence of this entity, and well, each seeks to recover the Incunabulum for their own reasons. Though the book was intended for printing, the Inquisition smashed the presses and burned most of the copies. Needless to say, a few survived, so the circle of individuals who are interested in Kupala is now larger. The Ravnos Vladislav steals the book from an Arcanum chapter house in London. Dracula, the Viennese Tremere led by Etrius, and the Sabbat's Black Hand are all interested in the secrets of Kupala, but story as intended, the protagonists keep the book from falling into undesirable hands. Sort of, since the characters do actually request assistance and information from Augustine, Celestine, and Etrius. So, the Tremere. What they learn is that the stirring of Kupala will be followed by the rise of the antediluvians. The signs they have witnessed, of which there are 8 in total, foretell both the rise of Kupala and the coming of Gehenna, though Augustine believes the book also contains the information the Tremere need to prevent such things from happening. Also, do forgive my atrocious pronunciation. Augustine is French, and I do not speak French. I cannot pronounce French for the life of me, but I'll still try. This brings us to the second story, which is by far the best in the book. Taking place in 1998, we are outright told that Saulot allowed himself to be diablerized by Tremere. He allowed himself to be diablerized. Then, from within, he manipulated the entire clan for his own nefarious goals. Tremere's will, however, is very strong. As such, he does have moments of clarity, despite the fact that Saulot is influencing him from within, from within Tremere himself. So he possesses Etrius and sets up a meeting with the traitor Goratrix so that he may permanently be rid of Saulot's influence by possessing another's body permanently. These names might not mean much right now, since the episodes have focused primarily on Kupala and the Tzimisce, but trust me, the magnitude of all of these events will be explained in future episodes. Assisting the Tremere, the characters travel to Mexico City, and needless to say, all goes according to plan. Tremere destroys all of the anti-tribute of his blood and takes over the body of Goratrix. Upon returning to Vienna, unburdened by Saulot's consciousness for the very first time in almost a millennia, Tremere returns to his resting place to find his body missing. The ebony stake that was keeping him in torpor snapped in two, and even hears Saulot's laughter, as if from a distance. Before we go into the last story of the chronicle, the very end of the epic 4-book Chronicle of Ages, I have a few mentions from various recaps and, in the meantime, sections of the book, in no particular chronological order. In Deva, the Tzimisce known as the Sculptor of Wolves has forged a vague truce with corrupt lupines who now inhabit the site of the Cathedral of Flesh. Zelios expanded his web over most of Romania, but sadly he meets final death in a manner that is not revealed to the reader. The Tremere can decipher the Incunabulum Kupalam and discover the center of the pattern of warding that Zelios put in place, and this I will quote straight from the book, and do remember this one, please. Now that web grows ever larger and focuses its power on a tiny area of Romania. The web has grown so strained that it is about to snap, releasing Kupala and fulfilling a sign of Gehenna. Please remember this, okay? So the web was going to snap regardless. Kupala cults grow stronger in Transylvania, and this apparently is what forms the Sabbat Inquisition, right? So all of this information is really, really interesting lore-wise, right? And it's in tune, in step with everything that has happened so far. Now here is the big revelation, the final story. If the characters kept the ivory tablets they found with the Knights Templar in the very first book, something I didn't even think would come back, they can finally translate them. Apparently the tablet was inscribed by Saulot himself. He details his travels to the Middle Kingdom and the discovery of what I can only assume are the Kuei Jin, the existence of which Father Cain knew about, but kept to himself, lying to all of his children. And this I absolutely have to read. Though they greatly pitied me and my condition, some of the enlightened ones of the East taught me what they could, trying to ease my heart's betrayal. I believe they hoped to bring me to a state of peace and acceptance of my own existence. I feigned that they did so, yet inside my thoughts were clouded with anger and my heart burdened with vengeance. But I discovered the great unfolding of the world. I could throw off the stigma of being lesser by becoming master of all in another age. So according to this, Saulot is an evil bastard who, if you remember Javaniel's journal, also gave birth to the Baali and is actually trying to destroy the world and become its master in the next age. Whoa, what? Yeah, I went back to the first book, Dark Tides Rising, this time looking for a bit more information on those ivory tablets. The book says, and I quote, "Still, should the characters keep the ivory tablets, they may discover what will happen in the times to come. See the second book in the Transylvania Chronicles, Son of the Dragon, for more information about these tablets." Guess what? Upon revisiting the second book, Son of the Dragon, I found no such information. We have Javaniel's journal, but nothing, absolutely nothing on these tablets. The only thing this shows is that there are sources of lore, journals, and prophecies other than the Book of Nod, which is always a delightful thought for storytellers. But I'm starting to see quite a few cracks in what is otherwise supposed to be a cohesive story. To further illustrate this point, I take you to a short passage in the second book, since that was the one I was looking through. The domain of Kronstadt. This is a difficult territory to control, largely because of its proximity to Keoris, A gargoyle pack patrols here frequently, and travelers are far more likely to encounter warfare between the usurpers and fiends here than in any other region of the Voivodate. Knowledgeable occultists also fear the secrets hidden beneath the Black Church in Kronstadt. So here I am, as happy as can be, as someone who actually lives in Kronstadt. Today it's called Brasov. And I know the stories surrounding the real-life Black Church near Council Square, right? So in light of the attention writers have given the history of this place in both Transylvania by Night and in the Chronicles, I'm ecstatic. I can't believe they tied this into the game and lore. Well, did they? No, they did not. That is the sole mention of the Black Church of Kronstadt in the entirety of the Transylvania Chronicles, precisely as I've quoted it. So it's obvious to me now, having read through more of the books, that there is much the writers forgot or left undone. It's like they were rushing to get this out there already, like a GM who's bored of his own game or was seduced into playing something else with another group and, lost interest. And I don't like it. I really don't like it. I will share my opinions another time. Let me tell you just how the story ends. Out of nowhere, the writers make this about the Nosferatu antediluvian and the Toreador antediluvian. Out of the blue. See, Nos and Tori were a thing. After Nosferatu was cursed and turned hideous, Toreador rejected him, so he's been planning to destroy Toreador for millennia. Yeah. So disjointed is this from the rest of everything that's been happening that the writers literally say this, and I quote, "The players have not known it until now, but the part they played in building the geomantic web marks them as a part of the ancient Nosferatu's story. The first of these tales may be presented to players as cutscenes, bringing greater insight into their experience of the Transylvania Chronicles." Oh wow, did you seriously just encourage me, as storyteller, to play out a little explanatory cutscene revealing information that otherwise the players would have never learned in character? What? This is bad. This is such bad writing. I can't believe it. So what happens? The characters return to Romania at Celestine's request, or Celestine, or whatever you want to call him, the Tremere librarian of Keoris, and discover that nuclear missiles are going to be launched under the influence of the Nosferatu antediluvian from hidden launch sites beneath the Chernavoda nuclear power plant, which is at the center of the web that binds Kupala. There are more details to this, but really everything is so forced that I can't bring myself to actually sum it up because I hate it. And let me tell you something. Chernavoda is nowhere near the center of Transylvania. You can bet your soul on that. Anyhow, so Nosferatu antediluvian wants to send missiles to New York, which is where he believes Toreador rests, and also to Beijing because that's where he believes Saulot rests. Celestine and a few others have the sword of Dracula. Again, Vlad Tepes cannot hold on to this sword, which is ridiculous. A huge earthquake begins and the protagonists need to retrieve the sword from deep within the ground. It falls into one of the cracks, into one of the crevices. They get to Chernavoda, and while trying to avoid a nuclear disaster of epic proportions, they end up inside a bunker beneath the power station, where not only are they hidden from sunrise, but they can actually stop the launch. And Kupala shows up, dumps lore on the protagonists. I'm not even kidding. Kupala shows up, contradicts himself a lot, because despite the fact that he's been under Nosferatu's influence this whole time and is effectively commanded by the antediluvian, he is controlled by the antediluvian in all things, he can still make a deal with the protagonists against his master. For reasons. Take Dracula's sword that is conveniently here and cut the web that binds me, or I do my master's bidding, release the missiles and start World War III, says Kupala. Needless to say, the book expects the characters to comply, and after that is done and Kupala is freed, the story ends with Kupala saying the following: "You have freed me, and for this I will grant you the right to continue existing. For now, do not seek to bind me again, or you will feel my true power. Leave. I reclaim the land I once ruled. If you are still here, 2 nights hence, you will know agonies that make sunlight seem but a lover's kiss. Unless, of course, you wish to stay and serve me. No? Then be gone before I feast on your souls, or what's left of them." You know the best part? Celestine has a reward for the protagonists. And Absimiliard, the Nosferatu antediluvian, sends them a congratulatory letter. I am not even kidding. I'm putting this on screen. "To you, the first round, but many more remain. My congratulations and my warning. A." Gee, I wonder what that stands for. So there we have it. Now that I've collected the lore, as presented in the book, I can really unleash my fury, which is nothing like Kupala's fury. Trust me, it's way worse. First of all, Czerna cannot be the nexus point for any web that binds Kupala into the Carpathians because it's so far southeast in Romania that it's nowhere near the mountains. If that were indeed the nexus point, the central point for the web, Zelios would have had to travel outside the regions of Transylvania and Tsara Romanesca by a serious distance, passing through a ton of other countries, including Turkey, at a point in history which I seriously doubt any Nosferatu would build random fortresses in those lands. Seriously. So that makes no sense. Secondly, why does Kupala manifest physically? And why does he speak like any mustache-twirling villain? This is a master manipulator, a demon who controls the spirits of the lands, causing floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and snowstorms. This is an ancient evil that spread its influence pretty much all over and even outside of Europe, as we will see in the next episode. You can count on that. What happens in this book is beyond character breaking. Everything they've built up to this point, the mystery, the darkness, the horror, ends up with a crappy speech and nuclear threats. Are you serious? Kupala is the cathedral of flesh. My God, the cathedral of flesh. What happened to that? He tricked Tzimisce the eldest, the entire Tzimisce clan, and he was the perfect antagonist, a being whose reasons defy comprehension, a being that was never human, and its evil scares the Tzimisce in their own homeland and keeps them in their castles. That is cool. That is a horror game set in dark medieval Transylvania. The Kupala that is under the shoe of the Nosferatu antediluvian is a joke. Oh, the Nosferatu antediluvian himself is a joke. Are you really telling me an inhuman vampire of the 3rd generation who's been around for 10,000 years, approximately, in the year 2000, who can bind and control the oldest of demons, is going to have nothing better to do for eternity than destroy the whole world to get back at his girlfriend? See, I thought elders were beings whose reasons defied mortal logic. This is vengeful Nosferatu Chad who was embraced yesterday, not Absimiliard. Given the fact that none of this outcome was even hinted at through 4 other books, if you also count Transylvania by Night, 4 other books, and given that so many cool things were just forgotten or decided randomly in such a manner that the player characters would literally have no means of figuring out in character, in game, this book is just the most disappointing thing I've read so far. I will stop bashing the book now, and in future Lore Hunt episodes we will see why Kupala is none of this, okay? None of this, and why this ending, though the writers even dare to say is canon, was never actually considered as such, and it wasn't continued. Thank heavens for that, because it is dumb as nails. Forgive my frustration, dear listeners, but I must say, till now, Kupala lore has been amazing. It really shaped this antagonist into a demon worthy of bringing about Gehenna, only to ruin everything in a single chapter. More precisely, 16 pages. 16 pages for the whole Transylvania Chronicles to come tumbling down. Take care, have fun, and forgive me for the disappointment. I really didn't know.